Hey, what's going on YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. Today I want to talk about my takeaways from an episode of the Joe Rogan Experience with Naval Ravikant. As you may know, I'm a fan of the Joe Rogan Experience, and there is this episode with a tech investor called Naval Ravikant. And it was very interesting to me because there's a lot of life lessons and business lessons that go hand in hand. As you may know, this channel is about business, making money, self-motivation, and just overall improvement. So if you're new to the channel, remember to subscribe. Now, if you don't know who Naval Ravikant is, if you do a quick Google search, you'll see that he's a tech investor, and some of his most notable investments include Uber and Twitter. He's also founded other companies, and overall, he's just a person that enjoys working in companies, as he stated in the Joe Rogan Experience. So there's a lot of lessons to be learned and to be applied from this episode. Honestly, I thought it was one of the best episodes I've watched from that show. And that's a lot to say because there's more than 1,000 episodes, and I think to me this is definitely one of the most beneficial ones where you can apply a lot of the lessons in your life, or one can apply most of the lessons in our own personal life. So I want to share with you guys my personal takeaways and how it can help your business, or in my case, my situation, and just a lot of things in general. So during the Joe Rogan Experience show with Naval, they talk about a bunch of different topics, going from how to make money, sharing their thoughts about society, about some topics that have to do with science and technology in the future. And I learned that Naval was actually a person who was raised in poverty, where he would work at any job that would show up in his life. And I think I can relate to that to some degree because I'm in a point of my life where I feel that I can work for 2 to 3 days without stopping and just loving it, because it's a stage of my life where I identify with that, because I want to work as hard as I can so I can save as much money as I can and then start to invest it in the future. When Naval shared this part of his story, I was very identified, because he would state that when he was younger, the neighborhood where he lived was very dangerous, so he had to go to his local library, and just stay there until his mom would leave his job and go pick him up. And during that time, he read a bunch of books that opened many doors for him to become an investor in the future. So I think it's very relatable to my situation, because I'm in a very similar spot where I'm just trying to learn as much as I can about topics that I enjoy talking about. And that's precisely why I'm doing this video, because I've seen so much potential in YouTube to make content about stuff that you like and actually make a living out of it. And I actually enjoy talking about these type of topics, about business, about life, about making money, about sports. So if you like to talk about those topics, remember to subscribe. But anyways, when he described his story, I felt that it was very applicable to other people's lives as well, because if it works for me, it will obviously work for others. So here are my favorite takeaways from this podcast, and I think you should definitely take a look at it if you're in a point of your life where you want to improve, or you want to strive for something better. And I'm sure that you get a lot of value from that podcast. So in the beginning of the video, I said that business and life go hand in hand, and I truly believe that, because we spend the majority of our times in our lives working. So if you're working in something that you don't enjoy, you'll definitely be miserable. And that's why I think it goes hand in hand, because if you do something you love, you'll definitely be able to be great at it, and you will also enjoy your day-to-day and your weekly basis work. So I think it's crucial to understand that working goes hand to hand with your life. And this leads me to the first takeaway, the major takeaway from the podcast, and it's about desires and how desires lead to suffering. Naval says that all desire leads to suffering, because the more we want something, the more we need, the more suffering we will have present in our lives. And I relate 100% with that. And I found that it's actually true, because when we crave so many things at the same time, it's actually suffering. But the point of this takeaway is that if we control our desires, we can actually get there faster, because when we want fewer things, we can concentrate our energy towards getting that. So the first takeaway is exactly that. All desire leads to suffering. In the podcast, he says that doesn't mean you have to not want anything. We need to have our desires, because we're human beings. We want things, and that's totally fine. But instead of having 20 or 30 different things that we want, just have 1 or 2. And I like that mentality or that idea, and I'm using that currently, because before starting this project I wanted a couple different things, including having a platform in Twitter, having a platform in Medium, having a platform in Facebook, and a bunch of other things. And on top of that, I wanted material things that I also thought I really needed at that moment. I really enjoy watches, so I wanted the best watches at the moment. I wanted my own car, my own apartment, I wanted to travel and all those things, and all that created was anxiety for me. Now that I've reduced my desires and my wants, I started to become a lot more calm and at peace with myself, and I can actually focus on what I have to achieve in order to then get all the things, the material things that I want. But this is the fun, this is supposed to be the fun part, the actual working to get to what you want. That's the first takeaway, acknowledging that a lot of desires can actually be negative for your life, and that you should focus on obtaining one or two so that your energy isn't divided amongst different topics or different objectives. Now, the second takeaway that I enjoyed the most from the video was that anyone can be rich. A lot of people are immediately gonna say that you need to get lucky, or you need specific situation and this and that or whatever. But I really believe that this idea is actually true. I think anyone can be successful if they put in the work and if they show up and if they remain consistent. And this is exactly what Naval says in the podcast. He describes how we're all beings of creation, that we achieve total peace when we're creating and expressing ourselves. That is what leads to greatness, true expression of ourselves. Naval used an analogy that goes something like this. If the world tomorrow had all engineers and scientists, that it will be a place where all the problems would be solved, and we would all focus on having creative jobs where we actually pursue the things we want. In this hypothetical situation, because everyone would be a scientist or an engineer, the rest of their time they would focus on actually doing something that they love, and through this manner they would achieve a maximum point of creativity. We would all create just stuff that we enjoy making, and that's what the true expression of art means. That is how riches are made. That is how people become great at one thing or two things, and that's how they make millions of dollars. My favorite example of this is with athletes. Athletes are the maximum expression of themselves. It's basically art. The biggest brands are an expression, the biggest shows are an expression of people. Everything that's major in society is just a reflection of someone, and that's why everyone can be rich if they work hard and if they work for what they want. It's just a matter of showing up, keeping your costo, and just working for what it is that you want. I truly see life as that, and in every person that I see success, I see that same path. It's different in how they decided to take actions, the events that occurred in their lives, but it's essentially the same formula. The formula for success is the same, just being yourself, the maximum expression of yourself, and at some point you will be able to accumulate a lot of riches. I truly believe that's very important. I think it applies to everyone. So take that into consideration whenever in your future, and I'm 100% sure that at some point it will be useful for yourself. These are what I believe to be true and legit. So if you think this is not right or this is wrong, just believe whatever you want. But I think in my case, in my situation, how I view the world, this is 100% accurate. So always keep that in mind throughout this video. Now, the third most important takeaway from the video has to do with having a clear mind in order to perform well at whatever it is that you do. When we're more calm, we will definitely achieve greater results and better performance in whatever our field is. During the podcast, Naval uses one specific example that I thought was extremely interesting, and it was that Warren Buffett, one of the world's most famous investors, spends about 5 to 6 hours a day reading, and then during the rest of the day he's always playing bridge and taking walks in the sun. That's what Naval said, and I thought that was insanely interesting, because these past couple of months I've tried to disconnect a little bit from my work, and I found that whenever I go outside and just forget about everything, I have a lot more clear thoughts about what I want, about who I am as a person, so I could identify 100% with that. It was very interesting because it was one of those moments where you're enlightened and you see that, wow, this is actually true, and you can actually apply it to your life. And that's like, this is literally me. And going back to the athlete's example, if you're a top performing athlete and you don't have rest, or you're very stressed out, you probably won't perform well. So it's very important to be in a very clear-minded state where you acknowledge all your thoughts, you just let them run, and you can actually focus on whatever it is that you want to excel at. So I think this is one of the most important takeaways for our future and for performing in whatever our field or area is. The takeaway number 4, and I think this is also one of the most important ones, if you want to be rich, if you want to buy whatever it is that you want to buy, or even if you want specific things just to have a better life, is that you will not achieve richness or acquiring those major purchases by renting out your time. So renting out your time is not the way to achieve success. And that, I think, is very important, and it's one of the toughest ones to acknowledge, because in my situation, I am to some degree renting out my time with the job I'm doing right now, because I need to save up money. But in order to take the next step, I need to save some money so I can invest. Understand that renting out your time will not lead to riches. So it's very important to realize that and to acknowledge that in your life and to have it present. You need to find a way to detach your time from the results, from your monetary results. And the way to detach your money from your monetary results is to own a brand or a company or have equity in different things. Just performance being more of an indicator of how much money you make, and that's crucial in order to make a lot of money. That is how you take the next step. So if in your life you have to realize, okay, if I have a job, I will not be able to achieve massive monetary success through my job. So you have to identify a way to create your own company, your own brand, if you want to. Obviously not everyone wants a life like that, because a life like that also brings a lot of problems. But nevertheless, you have to identify what it is that you can improve in your life so that you could take the next step and to achieve whatever it is that you want to. Number 5 is pretty interesting, and Naval said that it's about getting outside of your mind. This means that your thoughts just run and be yourself and find a way to have a creative outlet where you could just be who you are in reality, being yourself with no limitations, with no holding back. And as I said before, it's a similar way to what athletes do when they perform. They're outside of their head. So it's very important to be creative and be outside of your head in order to achieve major success in the future. And I like this one a lot because it happens personally when I go work out or when I'm playing video games. You get outside of that state of mind where you're always worrying about stuff. You're just being you, doing what they love, and they're getting outside of their thoughts and just enjoying the craft and their process. It's the same with artists, it's the same with people who paint, it's the same with everyone who has their own specific skill set, and I think this is definitely one of the most important ones for your future. Takeaway number 6 is being happy at the moment, and this one was also very applicable to my life, because if you would have asked me a month ago, I would have told you I wasn't happy because I haven't achieved whatever it is I want to achieve. But actually, a smart person finds a way to become happy and then move forward, not acquiring happiness in the end goal. And I think that's insanely crucial, because imagine your goal is to retire when you're 40. So you won't be happy until you're 40 or 60 or 70 or whatever it is, at whatever age that you want to retire. So you spend the majority of your life not being happy because you haven't achieved your goal. That's why it's crucial to be happy now and live a happy life now. I haven't achieved any of my goals, but if I'm not happy now, I'll realize that at that point I won't be happy as well. So I think that's crucial for success, acknowledging the moment, being happy, having clear, concise thoughts about what you want, and just acknowledging that happiness comes within and not from the external. So take that into account if you want to achieve a better life. Find a way to become happy with what you have, and I'm 100% sure that in the future that you'll see how your life opens up in different ways for the better. Lastly, the 7th takeaway that I found to be the most interesting one was that it's never been about the money, it's never been about the fame, but it's always been about the journey. That's the fun part of achieving success. The fame, the money, all of that is just a bonus, but the fun part is actually working towards what you want. And I found this to be very stressful at first, because I wanted all these things, and now that I understand that it's about the process, about learning, about enjoying day to day, that's what makes it a great achievement. It's important to realize that the fame and the money and all that stuff that you get with it is just an extra, and at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. What matters is that you enjoy what you're doing. Athletes, singers, actors, businessman, every type of person who is successful and has achieved some degree of success will definitely be able to say that to be truthful as well. For example, a famous singer won't be happy because of the money and all that stuff. I'm sure it will definitely affect in the future, but the fun part is actually creating the music and working on your craft, becoming great at it, and then in the future the money is great obviously, but if you can achieve a point where you're enjoying every single day of your craft, of your work, life will be a lot better for yourself. In my life, this seems to be truthful as well, because when I started to focus in about learning about the topics that I enjoy talking about, I realized how much simple life was. I mean, I think life is very easy once you figure out what you want, what you like to talk about, and all those things. And it's an ever-changing process. I don't think that what you like right now will always be what you like. There might be a couple of things that will always be constant throughout your life, but I think life is a changing environment, so it's important to realize that and to acknowledge that the more you enjoy your day, you're already successful. If you're healthy and if you have the opportunity to get up every day and work on what you want, you're already being successful, and it's important to acknowledge that. Lastly, as a bonus one, understanding over memorizing. I think this is also crucial. If you memorize something, you have to practice it over and over again, but if you understand it and it comes natural to you, it's a lot better than having to memorize things. That's why during tests in school, I will always try to memorize everything, and then I would forget it like a month or 2 months later, or even a freaking week later. So I think it's crucial that you understand whatever it is that you want to know, so you can explain it really easily and that it comes to you with ease. That's where true success and true achievement comes. So at the end of the day, business and life go hand in hand, like I said at first. And it's important to acknowledge that all these reasons, all these takeaways will apply in different aspects of your life. So take it into consideration if you want to, if you liked it. And always have that in mind, that the road is long and that you have to work hard, you have to work on what you enjoy, have a clear mind in order to perform, and know that the journey is the fun part. And success is obviously really enjoyable, but acknowledge that the journey together should actually be the best part of it. And I'm 100% sure that if you work on your happiness and on achieving your goals, at some point you'll be very successful and very happy, and your life will be a lot better. Of course, these are all my takeaways, these are all my point of views that I seem to have found to be legit, to be true. And the more I see and study successful people, I realize that they all have a lot of these takeaways in common. So take that into consideration if you want, and I'm sure that at some point you have some massive changes for the positive in your life as well. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys next week on Monday with another video, and on Friday with another one. If you like to talk about business, if you like to talk about self-improvement, about motivation, about money, about sports, about everything in life in general, subscribe to the channel, and I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you on the next one. Let me know in the comments what you thought. So see you on the next one.